Hello, my gorgeous friends and fellow seekers. I hope you're all doing really, really well. We are doing something a little bit different here for the February readings. Normally, I would do all 12 signs like I have done for the last 5+ years. And this is my first year that I'm not doing all 12 of the signs in the monthly reading. That is because I am in the midst of a huge move to a new country. I'm moving to Sweden and I'm in the process of doing that right now, like the literal physical process of doing that. So I had to recognize my own energy limitations and kind of figure out a way to work with myself and honor myself while also, I think, still showing up because I didn't want to miss hanging out and discussing February and talking about this amazing and really cool energy. So I'm trying out this idea of doing this overarching February reading. I still think I'm going to go back to the 12 signs once I get settled, but this month we're just trying this out and we'll see how it goes. And if you're curious about more of what's going on with that, I did do a video kind of discussing some of the things I'm going through right now. So I'll link that if you're curious, but I'm very excited to get into this February chat. We are going to just go through all the transits that are happening, all the bigger, juicy kind of things that are going on in February, so you get a sense of the map of February and the energy and the timeline. I'm going to also be going through a lot of the big themes and how to work with this February. What are some ways that we're being asked to see, to move, to explore in our lives, and how to work with the energy? And we'll close out with a tarot reading and get some of that intuitive wisdom as well. Anything that wants to move through our conversation today. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to be pulling a card for each week. So we'll get a sense of the themes and the energies moving through. And I think this is a really great month to do this. This month is very, very visionary, playful. It's about stepping outside of the familiar. It's about really getting into some practices that have to do with seeing with fresh eyes and also developing our trust with ourselves and with the interconnected web of this world that we live in. And so this is a really medicinal and beautiful month. It's visionary, it's forward focused, it's about loosening us up from some of the energy we have been working with for quite a while, at least the last year and a half, if not more. So there's a lot of fresh new perspectives moving through during this month. So let's get into it and feel through what the month of February has in store for us. So first off, we have the Lunar New Year happening around January 31st, February 1st, as the Aquarius new moon comes into focus. And I did do a discussion of the Aquarius full moon or new moon if you want to check that out. But this does signal the Lunar New Year. And it's about fresh starts. And the Aquarius new moon is already going to be a moon that's inventive, thinking outside of the box, drawing outside of the lines, putting two things together that you normally wouldn't put together and seeing what happens when you do that. That's the kind of energy that an Aquarius new moon generally tends to have. This new moon is also asking us to kind of look over where we kept kind of doing the same thing over and over again over the last year and questioning that and thinking about how we want to move forward with it. The Lunar New Year is also coinciding with Imbolc, which is the pagan wheel of the year, midpoint between the solstice and the equinox. And this time, February 1st, which is Imbolc, is a time of noticing what's wanting to burgeon inside of us. Those little first flutters and movements of change inside of us that we're just noticing. They may not be fully formed visions. They may not feel like super clear. We may not feel like acting on them, but we can feel that something's starting to flutter to life. And that is such a beautiful thing. So the Lunar New Year is really about just taking a breath, relaxing a little bit, and just being open to maybe seeing with some fresh eyes. And I like to say, just on your daily walk, your usual drive, your usual errands, our brains are very fast at recognizing the familiar and focusing on those things and processing those things visually and sensorially. So it takes practice to look around and just notice different things than the usual things that we always notice when we're on that drive or we're on that walk or when we're in our daily routine. So just have the fun of looking for those objects you normally don't see or notice and see what happens with that. And that is a big theme for Aquarius season in general, which we will be working with through the 18th of February. when the sun moves from Aquarius into Pisces. And this Lunar New Year is just inviting us to start to explore what we notice starting to burgeon. And it's all about the little details here and just noticing how there's a conversation going on. This month is also really interesting because we're getting used to the North Node in Taurus. For a little over a year and a half before this, we had the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius, and we were doing a lot of learning as a collective about what makes a meaningful life, what makes meaningful communication, what makes meaningful, like what makes a day meaningful, and how can we be present with that? Well, how can we be present in the day that we are in a way that feels meaningful and true to us? We did a lot of learning about that, and it was very challenging at times and also very helpful at times. But now that we have the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, we're starting to get used to this energy in February. This just shifted over in January. And with this new energy, one of the big things that's going to be coming up time and again with the North Node in Taurus is developing deeper trust with ourselves, listening to our bodies, listening to our intuition, listening to that fingertip feeling is like a rough translation. Some cultures use fingertip feeling, some people use gut feeling, and developing a better language between what's really going on within us and what we need to pursue and move toward. And so we're also going to be this February starting to get more used to this new transit, which is going to be taking place for the next year and a half, and exploring how it's feeling. Noticing what's coming up for us, noticing what's maybe changing as far as larger themes, larger ways of moving through the world, just taking a moment once again to notice if there are any larger themes that have now suddenly shifted that for a long time felt like we were repeating the same lesson over and over again. With this switch with the North Node, there are going to be new opportunities for learning, new opportunities for exploring who we are becoming. Now, February is also really interesting because this is going to be a month of a ton of direct motion with the planets. We will have just finished up Venus retrograde on January 29th in Capricorn. And that Venus retrograde started December 19th, I believe. And all of February is going to be Venus in direct motion, moving forward through Capricorn over the post-shadow phase of her retrograde. And during this time, we're going to be understanding more and more what it is we learned during Venus retrograde, how that affected us. I did also a chat about what I think this Venus retrograde was really about. And of course, in retrospect, there are always themes and layers that are clearer and make more sense. So in February, you may also be able to put some of the pieces together about what you maybe were learning or exploring in December and January, places that maybe felt overwhelming or confusing or you didn't quite have all of the pieces pulled together. If you felt a little fractured or scattered during the months of December and January, February here in the post-shadow phase of Venus retrograde can really help us to see more clearly what we were learning and how to put those puzzle pieces back together. I think the Venus post-shadow phase 2 is very supportive of us to start taking steps towards anything that we may have learned or realized about ourselves during the retrograde. So this can be a really great time where you understand what it is you want to shift or pursue or explore or communicate. It eases up some of the energy so that we're moving toward what we feel is really true for us. And, this takes courage. I think Venus in Capricorn and this retrograde in Capricorn in general asked us to get really honest with how we are showing up for ourselves. Are we being accountable to ourselves and how we communicate what we need and how we pursue what it is that feels right for us? And that can be even the simplest of things, the preferences we have just in the way that we go about a typical day. It doesn't always have to be earth-shattering, but these little details and how much they matter and how we're self-parenting. So now in this post-shadow phase, this is a wonderful chance to start to take steps. If you felt like you've had areas where maybe you were abandoning yourself or not listening to that inner child or that inner worrier or any parts of yourself that have needed more attention, and maybe also to acknowledge where we want to shift, February is going to be so supportive of that. There's always kind of a refresh and a recharge with Venus moving direct. The Venus retrograde cycle is about her rebirth. So this is also another rebirth energy, new beginnings energy, like the Lunar New Year, like the North Node moving through Taurus. So there's tons of this kind of spring-like symbolism going on here in February. And that is regardless of what hemisphere you're living in or anything. This is just kind of the energy of it. We also have the closeout of Mercury retrograde in February. So February 3rd, Mercury stationing direct, also in Capricorn, after 3 weeks, moving back through both Aquarius and Capricorn. So Mercury is going to start moving direct, and the rest of February will also be doing the post-shadow phase, kind of collecting information, integrating it all, anything you may have been learning during Mercury retrograde. And so Venus and Mercury both direct after a couple of months of a little scrambling. We also have all the other planets direct at this point. So in February, we are in that special little pocket of time that happens every year where everybody's direct and we're all kind of moving forward on things. Now, I have just something to say about this. Itchy nose. Before I move on to the next thing, which is this. A lot of times we'll get these reports about the months when we have a lot of direct motion with the planets. And it's like, often what will be said is, this is your time to take action, take all the action that you need right now. And this is your one chance. These 6 weeks when everybody's direct is the one chance for things to move forward. And what I want to just say is that, yes, with all that direct motion, this is about kind of taking physical, practical steps toward what feels right for each of us and exploring that and pursuing that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be at hyper speed or that we need to pursue it all right now and run around. I think what's important to remember with that is that it's more just about being able to outwardly express some of the things that you may have been working on integrating, healing, or understanding during the season, especially during Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, where we are catching up with ourselves. We're integrating, we're working outside of linear time, we're working more in circular time. And those are important and beautiful aspects and transits. So now it's just more about gently and really consciously taking the steps that feel right for us, and there being a little bit more flow to that. And February really does have that beautiful energy, and I'm so excited to explore what it feels like to have all that direct motion working with us in February. And like I said, this is both Venus and Mercury post-shadow phase. So this is also about collecting and understanding what it is we've just learned, integrating it, seeing it with clearer eyes. This is a great time to journal, kind of bullet point what it is that you maybe learned, the bigger themes, and kind of zoom out and look at those. This is also Aquarius season, right? And I just want to go through some of the themes for this Aquarius season in all that I'm just talking about here from February 1st through the 18th. We have, one of the big themes that we'll notice time and again here for these first few weeks of the month is going to be about familiarity and stepping outside of it. This is going to be about trying things that aren't on the familiar path. And like I said, that's anything from just your daily routine, your daily walk, your daily drive, kind of noticing different elements you normally don't notice, to also noticing any patterning that maybe you got from generations before you, or that you've developed over the last couple of years, or that maybe you developed when you were a child or wherever that was, and looking at those and assessing what is working and trying things a little bit differently, having fun exploring how we can do things in a different way. Maybe it feels a little uncomfortable, maybe it feels a little scary, but it also can help us to break free of some of the old patterning. Because familiar doesn't always necessarily equal healthy or truly comforting or any of that. It can, but it can also be just based on something that we've always had in our lives. And we all are going to have to kind of explore which is which and what is what. And trying just little things to step out of the familiar is a great way to work with Aquarian energy and to see who you truly are and see and explore who you truly are. This is also a month of redefining and reprioritizing what's important in your life. This is always nice to check in with, I think, just like quarterly, basically, just kind of checking in, like, do I really prioritize, am I prioritizing my friendships, or maybe I'm working a little too much, or maybe I'd like to work more and have more of like a joyful discipline around waking up and painting every morning. This is a really great season and time, these first few weeks of February, to just kind of take a look around and really like figure out what it is you want to prioritize over this next season, and how that's feeling for you, especially as we're working with this new bold energy. You might notice that priorities and the things that felt important for the last few years are now moving around. And the scale is changing, and where we're putting things and where we're acknowledging things is changing. This is a really great season, this Aquarius season, in this post-shadow phase of both Mercury and Venus, to notice where those priorities have shifted around and where your dreams or goals have changed. And like I said, the big thing here is trying new things and seeing what happens. I like to do this with art and with writing and with any kind of creative expression, because there's no punishment. Like if you try a new medium, or you just feel like splashing some paint on a page and seeing what happens and getting in there with some random tool, nothing terrible is going to happen if you're trying to step outside when it comes to creative expression. So it's a great way to step in. But you can also do this in your daily routines, in the way you're prioritizing your energy, and all of those spaces. So in general, this Aquarius season is really, really supportive of all of us. And then, of course, we're going to end Aquarius season with a full moon in Leo. This is gorgeous, lush energy. A full moon in Leo is going to activate our big, bold selves and how we want to move through the world. And it's going to ask us to really ask, how are we allowing ourselves to shine our energy bright and play? Where are we keeping ourselves small? And whenever I talk about this, it's always like, I feel like when you hear people saying, well, shine bright and take up space, it kind of sounds like a formula. Like there's one way to do it, which is like be really loud and take a whole bunch of pictures of yourself and get on a stage and perform. But I think shining bright is going to look so different for each of us. Some people just shine bright with like their kindness and the way they show up for their community and the people that they cross paths with in their day. And that is so beautiful. That's some of my favorite shining bright. Some people shine bright in their solitary workspace, where they allow themselves to play on the canvas in ways that are surprising and new. Some people shine bright by being a leader, or by literally being on the stage. We all have our own version of shining bright. And I think it's so liberating when we figure out what that shining bright for each of us is, and that it doesn't have to fit into some of these cultural standards that are normally associated with energy like Leo, with the energy of leadership and the sun and the bigness of the sun. So this is also a really great full moon to just reflect on what it means to you to shine bright and where that hits for you. And then we get into Pisces season, and I love Pisces season. I almost always have some kind of big transformational exploration. Every single Pisces season has been an adventure for me, I'm pretty sure, my whole life. Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, and happy birthday to Aquarians and happy birthday to Pisces. I love you both so much. Some of my favorite energies in the whole world. And Pisces season this year is just beautiful. Like I said, when we hit Pisces season on the 18th and the sun moves into there, all the planets are direct. And we are also going to be working with Jupiter and Pisces here for the next few months. Then it's going to move forward into Aries. But we're also, Piscean energy right now is getting illuminated with the Jupiterian influence moving through Pisces. So this Pisces season is going to be about reconnecting to our sense of connectedness with everything else. So some of the big themes in Pisces season, actively redefining and connecting with like our cosmovision and the way that we envision what it means to be in this world. This is actually something I've been doing in my morning journaling recently, is taking the time to think about the worldview I want to be cultivating for myself and deliberately writing about it. It's so easy to fall back into habits of thought that have either been handed to us from many generations, or from all the messaging around us, or from just the collective energy sometimes can be a little frying and frazzling. So this Pisces season, it's a really great time to, kind of like with the Aquarian season, thinking about what we prioritize, what we think of as meaningful or beautiful in this life. this Pisces season is going to ask us to also do that with the way that we see ourselves. Do we see benefic energies helping us? Do we see things as malefic or scary? Where do we see those things? This Jupiter and Pisces energy and the Pisces season in general is working in conjunction with the North Node in Taurus, with the South Node in Scorpio, asking us how we talk about our existence and how we kind of envision it. There's also another practice that Pisces season is asking us to connect with, which is practicing feeling safe with ourselves and within the web of the world. And I think, yes, of course, there's the practical grounded side of needing to kind of be aware of things and read up on things and advocate for ourselves and be in a mind of justice for those who need help, and not to just be like, everything's fine, we can ignore all these problems, of course. But I think in order to effectively show up to those pragmatic solving of things in life and showing up to this very challenging world that can sometimes really be frazzling and scary, we have to also develop a sense of trust inside of ourselves and with the energies that be, in order to sustain our energy. So Pisces season is always going to be a really important time of year to reconnect to that sense of trust, reconnect to that really big energetic field that we're all connected into, and just playing with that and reconnecting to it. And also this is a season of tuning into intuition, practicing back into it. If you've taken a step away from your intuitive gifts, or you felt like you've kind of just been distracted by a lot of other things, this is a great season to reconnect with your intuition and any intuitive hits that are coming, and to kind of explore. I think a big question that comes up over and over again is what's intuition and what's kind of fear or worry, and which is which. Pisces season can be a great time to kind of explore that. And one of the ways that I find to explore that, if you're feeling like you can't really decide if you can like trust your intuition or trust yourself, is try it out on things that aren't like momentous. It can be things like what you want to eat for lunch, or what you need to pick up from the store, or the order you want to do your errands in, and just playing with that and noticing where your intuition is leading you and seeing what happens. Because if we start off trying to be like, well, I need to know if this is intuition or my fear or my worry, and it's something that's kind of huge, like should I say yes to going to that school or to that move, we might feel a little confused and overwhelmed. So this is a great chance to do this. It's also really interesting because, like I was saying, it's the Lunar New Year. It's the beginning of this Taurus North Node. We also have all the energy going direct. So there's a lot of forward motion energy moving through February. But it's also interesting because Pisces season is the final sign of the zodiac. It is about death and rebirth often with Pisces, and we'll be coming to the Western astrology new year here after Pisces season when we hit into Aries season. And so there's also an energy whenever we're working with Pisces of releasing and closeout as well. But in all the years of exploring and doing this work, I have yet to think of a time where new beginnings didn't also come with taking the time to notice how we've changed and grown, and these things work together. It's kind of like you can't have one without the other. And so in many ways, this is about accepting how we have changed, each of us individually and culturally, how we have changed, and embracing it and finding peace with it and finding catharsis with any parts of ourselves. It's been scary maybe to accept the change, or it's been scary to take that step and shine bright and be on the path that feels right for you. Or it's been scary to recognize that, you can't go back to that same familiar path that maybe was so beautiful and so loving at some other point and really meant something to you, but that, you can't force yourself to go back into that shape. February really is a month where we are accepting that we have to have the courage and the heart to explore the true path for each of us. And that often, even for other people, some of the things that take courage and heart for us to do may seem pretty small, but for each of us, taking that step outside of the familiar, trying something a little different, can be extremely vulnerable and scary at times. And this is a month where it is time to have that courage to really embrace the path that is meant for us. I can think of so many different lives I've had. I remember I used to work in information science in a library, and it was such a great, cozy job. Like, I had the best, most thoughtful, wonderful, service-oriented coworkers. And I got to play with books all day, every day. And it was just very consistent. And at the time, it was just what I needed. I was recovering from a really, really tough relationship. And I needed that stability and I needed that consistency. But there was a point at which I grew out of that and I moved towards some new things. And sometimes I think back to that time of my life. I had a cute little apartment and I had my really cozy job with my great coworkers, and we get there early in the morning and drink coffee and talk about life. It was a really special time. I sometimes miss that life, but when I think about trying to go back to it, of course, like, I had to follow my path, and I feel the same way now. Like, there's so many things I appreciate about where I've lived before, and that it's sad to leave behind, but it's also time for me to follow my path. So, give yourself space, take care of your nervous system. I also find Pisces season a great time to take care of the nervous system, to reset in that way, to work with the vagus nerve and with even reflexology and things that can really help and soothe our nervous systems. And, in grieving and releasing, and also in having the boldness and courage to follow our path, it does take energy. So remember to also rest. Okay. I knew this chat was just going to go for a while because it's me, and I didn't get a chance to do all 12 signs this month. So let's get into these cards and see what's coming up. Knight of Cups. All right, that is week 1. Let's see what wants to come out for week 2. I'll talk through each of these. A card wanted to come out. It fell. And so here we go. We've got the 3 of Pentacles for week 2. And then while that card was falling, week 3 is 7 of Cups. Very fitting for our shift into Pisces season. Can't have a Pisces season without some good 7 of Cups energy. And Ace of Swords. All right. Man, I love this lineup. It's so beautiful. It's very dreamy and also practical. And what a great combo. I love feeling dreamy and practical in one day. That is my favorite kind of day. So let's talk through these cards and some of the energy that I am getting here. All right, week 1, the true romantic Knight of Cups. This is the week of the Lunar New Year, of Imbolc. This is the heart of Aquarius season here on the first week of February. And the Knight of Cups is a dreamer. This guy loves love, truth, and beauty. This is the altruistic poet, the emotional giver, also the theatrics and the fun and the exploration and the expressiveness of love, truth, and beauty. Like getting in there with the sonnets and the artwork and the creativity. And so, whenever the Knight of Cups shows up for me, this is about, yes, romanticizing things, playing with things, dreaming. And so often what I find interesting, thinking about that theme of stepping outside of the familiar, when things get really, really familiar, we've done that same walk, that same drive, that same daily routine for a while, the enchantment can kind of dissolve, right? And we can reinvigorate the Knight of Cups energy by just moving around parts and pieces of our day and finding that romance and that light and that vibrancy again. And remembering things too that maybe we take for granted or we don't even think about that are really romantic. I think the Knight of Cups is also kind of countercultural because this is somebody who believes in the beauty of something at an essential, deep level, regardless of people telling them that that's unrealistic, that's not pragmatic, that's not thoughtful. I actually think that the Knight of Cups in many ways in our culture is quite countercultural, especially if we're doing this from a true place in ourselves and not just doing the performance of it. And so, also what I'm saying here with Aquarius season and with Knight of Cups showing up here is believe in something beautiful. Challenge the norm around those things. Believe in something visionary and beyond what we have here. I'm reading a biography about Sylvia Pankhurst, who was a feminist radical activist in the early 20th century. Amazing, very, very, very powerful person, who really saw beyond the limitations of her cultural time when it came to topics like racism and sexism and voting rights and all sorts of topics that at the time she was one of a very few who were thinking beyond their confines. And that is what Aquarian energy is all about. But it's also about believing it's possible that something amazing can happen. And that's what Knight of Cups is all about. So week 1, we're starting off strong. All right, week 2. Second week, we're going to be wrapping up most of Aquarius season here. Mercury will be direct at this point. We're heading towards some new energy. And one other thing about Aquarian energy is this is about connecting to community and to people you can create with and not feeling alone. So, and I think too, with the closeout of Venus and Mercury and retrogrades, this is going to be a great time to come back together with people, have great conversations, have great connective dialogues. This is a really great time to just take a little time to nurture friendships and community. If you've been feeling a little bit more hermity or closed off, Three of Pentacles often brings great solutions to things that we couldn't solve on our own. So the message here is often that when we work together with each of our skill sets, answers come more easily than when we're trying to just be independent and take it all on our own shoulders and do it alone. So it's a reminder to open to collaboration and even just, kind of informal chatting with friends and welcoming, insider help where you need help is a reminder there. And Aquarius season is all about that as well. All right. On the third week, shifting between Aquarius and Pisces here, also having the Leo full moon. So 7 of Cups is an interesting card. I think a lot of people find it hard to connect with this energy. Like, what do you do with 7 of Cups energy? What is this? This is shadowy guy standing in front of a lot of creepy cups. But I love 7 of Cups. 7s in tarot are always about big growth. It's always about those moments when we are facing into something new and different, and we're having to decide how we want to approach that thing. And the 7 of Cups for me is about being comfortable enough to go inside, listen to our spirit, listen to what's trying to communicate with us, and to really hear it. Because this is kind of like the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail, where, he has chosen wisely. That's what I always think of when I see this card, and because it is the Holy Grail there. And if you've ever seen that movie, people who choose the wrong cup die immediately. And and then the right cup gives you everlasting life. But I think the symbolism there is that, we want to pick up the cups that are true to our hearts. We want to pick up the priorities and the dreams that are true to our hearts. That is what gives us life and vitality. And when we pick up a cup, maybe it looks really great. Maybe it's great on a resume, or maybe it's familiar and something that everybody expects from you, but it doesn't feel true anymore. It will sap your energy. It will make you feel enervated. So 7 of Cups is about the challenge of sitting quietly with ourselves and really hearing our spirit speak, and really hearing our inner true self speak and tell us what it is that we need to hear and move on in life. But this is also a card about relaxing enough, relaxing our muscles, relaxing our mind enough to let ourselves also just float and explore the different avenues and possibilities, and even explore paths maybe we don't seriously want to take, but just imagining what it would feel like if we did pick up that cup. So this is an exploratory energy that's here to help us grow and get honest with where we're going. And we finish off the month with the Ace of Swords. And this makes me think so much about all the planets direct, the post-shadow phases of both Mercury and Venus closing out by the time March hits. Both of those planets' post-shadow phases will be over. So when we get to the end of February and the middle of Pisces season, this is going to be about what we are walking away from and what we are moving toward. Ace of Swords is a double-edged sword. On the one side, this is about clearing away cords, connections, routines that are no longer serving. And on the other hand, this is about opening up doorways that we are walking through. And like I said, February is so much about the interplay between those two things, the grieving and releasing of what can no longer stay, and the excited, curious, inventive part of ourselves that is welcoming in the new. These two things are going to be working in tandem over and over and over again this month. And rather than fighting that, I think it's important to embrace that these two things can be happening really simultaneously in the same moment, and that they work very well together. It's okay if we feel a big swell of grief and then also excitement at the same time. And that's what February with Aquarius and Pisces season is going to be all about. The energy is big, it is bold, it is juicy. It's about really showing up to our dreams inside of ourselves. And in many ways, when I see these cards, what I see is like, there's a rich light show just waiting inside each of us to be explored and navigated. And it's our job to just show up to that internal dialogue and see what's waiting there to be heard and addressed and followed and nudged ahead. Also, though, don't be afraid to reach out and have deep conversations with others and connect and explore what you're all going through, because I think we will all find that we're sharing a lot of the same confusions and explorations, even if they look practically different. This is a month of healing, of joy, of dreaming, of pragmatic change, of forward motion and accepting what it is that has changed within us and working with ourselves rather than against our own growth. So there it is. There was my first overarching chat of a month. It was hard to just fit it all of it, all the big juicy stuff of this month into one chat. Let me know how this worked for you and what you think about this February. If we should keep doing these monthly overarching chats with the big themes. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I will be back here very soon for our full moon in Leo. As a Leo sun, that is very exciting for me. I always love connecting with Leo energy, so I will see you there for that. And for some more chats, I'm in the process of this big move. My life is dissolving in one way and forming in another, so I'm going to keep you all posted on that and philosophize a little about what makes a meaningful life and just have some chats about being a highly sensitive person on the move. So I'd love to see you here for all of that. Also, we are doing our usual Patreon schedule. Every week we check in and connect and do a reading together. I do activations for all the moons and worksheets for all sorts of transits that are coming up. So if you want some extra resources, I'd love to see you there. And obviously you can find me on Instagram. There's only the one true Sarah Vrba. I'll leave that handle below and my website and my email, so you know where to find me, my beautiful friends. I will talk to you so soon, and thank you so much for understanding me going through this phase of doing things just a little different while I'm going through such a huge time in my life. Oh, and also pink loon crown. This is one of the first ones I ever got. I'll leave her Etsy shop link below if you're looking for some pretty jewelry. I love you all so much and see you soon.